What up, cucks? It's your boy, the Hater, and the Royal Rumble just ended, which means it's time for our review, cuckolds. Now, with that being said, I will start by saying that this was, in my opinion, that is, one of the worst Royal Rumbles of all time. The reason for this, primarily, is because there were only 4 matches. Now, some of the matches were okay. I'm not going to, say they were all bad. For example, the women's match, the Women's Rumble match, which we're going to talk about first, I thought was pretty good. Now, did it go the way that I wanted it to go? No, it didn't. However, I'm okay with the way that it went down. So, the match starts with Natalya and the returning Naomi. Now, nobody should care about Naomi. I certainly don't. The only good thing is that there was no Sasha Banks in this Royal Rumble. People were saying she's going to come back and win. Luckily, that didn't happen. It doesn't make any sense. And as a matter of fact, this brings me to my next point, which I will make in the next video. But hold off on that for now, cucks. Next up, Candice LeRae comes out, right? Then Jordynne Grace. This one was pretty interesting because she's from TNA, right? And they just straight up said, here's the TNA Knockouts champion. Now, one of my friends said they did the same thing with Mickie James, but I don't remember it that way. I don't remember them being like, here's Mickie James, the Impact champion. Maybe they did, but even if they did, Mickie James is a legend of WWE. This is Jordynne Grace's, as far as I'm concerned, first appearance in WWE. Certainly her first noteworthy appearance. So, I thought that was pretty nice. And also, TNA is TNA now. It's not Impact Wrestling anymore. So that just had a bit more gravitas. They just straight up said it, I really thought that was cool. Now anyways, doesn't matter. Next up, Indy Hartwell. All right. Obviously, none of the girls here, except for maybe Bayley, would have had a shot at winning thus far, right? So that's kind of lame. Asuka comes out. She's one of the tag team champions, so she's not going to win, right? Then Ivy Nile comes out. She has a pretty good showing. I really liked some of the things that she did. She had a few botches here and there, but she was nice, So was Jordynne Grace. I really liked to see what Jordynne Grace did. She looked the part. She looked like a champion, That's something we don't have enough of. Then Bianca Belair, who's overrated, comes out. She didn't really do much, right? There was a point where she did the KOD on someone on the apron and eliminated them. That was basically it. And that's kind of the story of this pay-per-view, and at least the 2 Royal Rumble matches, right? A lot of wrestlers didn't do anything to set them apart, right? So, in the past, you'd have people come back and come in and kind of the 90 seconds, that's their 90 seconds, quote-unquote. They would go out there, do finishing moves on people, Randy Orton would come in, RKO everybody, Kane or Big Show would come in and start eliminating people left and right. You know what I mean? It was kind of like that, right? They would do their things. They would do their moves. They would have their moments, right? And if they weren't going to do that, it's remember that Royal Rumble when CM Punk was out first or second and he eliminated 5 people in a row and he was the only man in the ring for the remainder of the time until the next person came out, and he would just cut a small promo every time. Yeah, that's memorable, right? That's something oh, interesting, I'm going to remember that. Or Kofi Kingston's memorable saves or things of that nature, So there we are. Next up, we have Kairi Sane. Speaking of interesting saves, I don't know if this was meant to be a save or just a close call type of thing. I think they could have really made it into a save. It was sick. So she gets thrown off, and she pretty much just hangs on the apron, on the bottom part. One foot touches the ground, right? Which was kind of weird, honestly. But basically, she has her shoulders almost, her bottom, the bottom part of her biceps and her hands kind of draped over the apron while she's facing outward, right? And then she's one foot touches the ground, but then she retracts both feet. This would have been a good opportunity for a good save, right? She could have just gotten on one foot, hopped around, and gotten to the stairs, or just climbed into the ring, right? Or Bayley or whoever else was in there, I don't know if Asuka was still in, right? Could have just rolled out of the ring and just pushed her back in, right? They could have rolled under the bottom rope, pushed her in to not have her eliminated, right? And that would have been a good moment instead of what it was, which was a close call and an elimination. It was cool nonetheless. I've never seen anything like it. So that was kind of welcome, I guess, right? Then Tegan Nox comes out. Now, Tegan Nox, I put her on the category of Primo and Epico, on the category of Karrion Kross, people like that just stay in the company forever and don't draw one dime. The fact that Tegan Nox has been getting a paycheck from WWE for God knows how long. I'm going to quickly Google and see when she started, but I'll get to that later, maybe another video or something, unless I can figure it out right now. She joined WWE, it looks like, in 2017. So almost 10 years, like, 7 years basically. And she's had like 3 matches, So she's in there, doesn't really do anything, nobody cares. Kaden Carter comes out, her and Katana Chance are both jobbers. So, I mean, they're treated as such, and it doesn't matter. They don't really do much. But she's there taking up a spot nonetheless. We're going to get to that in the end, right? Chelsea Green comes out. She was one of the standouts of the Rumble, I thought, right? She did a lot of comedy spots. There was one series of moves that no matter what happened, Chelsea Green was the one that got hurt, right? Like, so someone would body slam someone else, but they would fall on Chelsea Green. Someone would like trip and fall on Chelsea Green, right? Everything that was happening, she was getting attacked. And the announcers did a good job playing up the fact that like last Royal Rumble, she lasted 5 seconds. So that was kind of interesting. I thought that was well done, right? Piper Niven comes out. She was interesting too, partially because of her, her dual role with Chelsea Green. She was part of a lot of those spots. They were memorable. You know what I mean? Xia Li comes out, another person in the category of Tegan Nox, who has been milking this company dry for years and hasn't done anything, right? Speaking of Zelina Vega, same category. She sucks. She's just too small. And quite frankly, there's a lot of girls like her. So who cares, right? She comes out there, doesn't do anything. Maxine Dupree comes out. I really like Maxine Dupree. First of all, she's attractive. Second of all, she's had a good story arc, right? She started off with Maximum Male Models, and now she's like, she went from being the boss of that to being a student at the Alpha Academy, right? Which I think is pretty great, considering like their spot on the card. They do good. They do good work, right? She did like a basically a backwards worm, and then an elbow drop, right? Kind of like what Otis does, except backwards, which I thought was an interesting take on that. Then Nia Jax comes out. At this point, once Nia Jax came out, I was anticipating the imminent arrival of Jade Cargill, right? There was several times when Nia Jax was just like playing up like the Big Show role, basically, where it's hard to eliminate her, where like 8 people gang up on her, she just like explodes and they all fall backwards like in those fake martial art YouTube videos, right? But I could tell that that's what they were leading up to. Shotzi comes out. Her hair has grown really fast. I don't know. Maybe she has some extensions or something, right? I don't remember when she shaved her hair. Like, I'll need to like look that up because it seems like she did it like less than a year ago and her hair had grown like pretty long and it takes a long time to grow haircuts. Anyways, next up, Becky Lynch comes out. For some reason, she doesn't have the same flair as she did in the past, right? So like nobody really cares about, Becky Lynch, but it is what it is. She came out and nothing came of it really, right? Next up, Alba Fire came out, right? She came out dressed as a witch. That was really stupid, right? But aside from the fact that she dressed like a witch, she didn't do any witchly things. She was just another wrestler, and she just got her ass kicked. Eventually got eliminated, I think, by Naomi, right? Shayna Baszler comes out. She does nothing. She has a couple of spots, but does nothing. Valhalla comes out. She gets eliminated in like a matter of seconds. And basically it's because she's number 24, and R-Truth comes out thinking it's the men's Royal Rumble. It's obviously not. He goes in there. This causes like a slight distraction. Valhalla goes in. She gets eliminated immediately. She's angry at R-Truth, right? And then R-Truth is talking to, I think it's Adam Pearce. Is that his name? The bald guy? I think it's Adam Pearce, right? And he's like, this is the women's Royal Rumble? And Pearce is like, that's right, Truth. It's the women's Royal Rumble. And he's like, those are women in there? And he's like, yes, Truth, those are women. Which I thought was hilarious because it's like a lot of them don't look like women. You know what I'm saying? You got some big broads in there. Anyways, then next up, Michin, also known as Mia Yim, comes out. This is just another waste of money. I mean, I don't even know why they have her. Zoe Stark, another waste of money. Then Roxanne Perez from NXT comes out. She has a good showing. She does a lot of cool moves. I really enjoyed a lot of the things that she did. So that was kind of nice and welcomed, right? Then after she comes out, Jade Cargill comes out looking like a beast, right? Jade Cargill is obviously a star. She's the total package. She should have won the Royal Rumble, but she didn't. She eventually got eliminated. Who eliminated her? I believe it was basically Bayley. Like her and Tiffany Stratton were doing like a thing, I think. And oh no, it wasn't. What am I saying? No. Jade Cargill made it to the very end. Next up came Tiffany Stratton and then Liv Morgan in the end. So the last 3 were Cargill, Liv Morgan, and Bayley. So I was thinking while this was happening, I was like, all right, I want Jade Cargill to win, but I understand if they don't want to give it to her, like it's her first match at WWE ever. So like I get it, you don't want to give it to her. She's not coming back like Cody Rhodes or CM Punk. So it's like, oh, you don't want to give it to her. I was cool with Bayley or what's her face? Liv Morgan, right? Liv Morgan, I really enjoy her now. I used to think she was garbage, and quite frankly, she wasn't. She kind of still is. But I do appreciate the hard work she puts in. That's really all I can say. She's not good. I mean, I don't want to give off that impression. You know what I'm saying? She still sucks. So Bayley, on the other hand, of the 4 horsewomen, aside from Charlotte, I've always thought that Bayley was the best one, right? She has the best storyline in the sense that she's always had discernible gimmicks. Like Becky Lynch doesn't have a gimmick. Charlotte Flair's gimmick is she's Ric Flair's daughter. And Sasha Banks, she doesn't really have a gimmick either. I mean, it was a gimmick in NXT where she was the boss, but not really anymore. Like, she's just a girl now. She's just a girl that wrestles. Like, there's no difference between her and Roxanne Perez. You know, like, you don't need them both. So, whereas Bayley has a gimmick, right? Her gimmick was like the hugger, you know, like basically the female John Cena. And then she turned heel, right? So she did what John Cena didn't do, which I thought was kind of nice. So with all that being said, in the end, the finish of the match was pretty cool. So they're fighting on the apron. Liv Morgan does like a version of the Oblivion on Jade Cargill off the apron. Jade Cargill is forced to just dive face first, basically, and land on her, like, do a face bump off the apron into the ring, right? So Liv Morgan eliminates Jade Cargill. And then at that point, Bayley just picks up the scraps and just pushes Liv Morgan with her foot off of the apron. I guess Liv Morgan had gone over the top rope at some point. We're just going to assume she did. I don't remember her. And I remember when I watched it, I was like, oh, did she go over the top rope? But nevertheless, that's how it went down. Bayley wins. Next up, interesting choice, but we had the world title match first. So all of a sudden, I was like, why? Why is this before the Logan Paul match? And I was thinking to myself, well, maybe it's because they want to give some time to rest, some more time to rest to the 3 guys that are going to lose this match, to, like, you know, so they can go into the Rumble as well, right? But that wasn't the case. Now, part of me was like, imagine if Roman Reigns loses. Now, I knew he wasn't going to, but if you're going to have him drop the title belt, this might be like a, you know, like an interesting way to do it. Like, it's like he didn't get pinned. And then you could just have him win the Rumble. How sick would that be? He comes out at number 30 or something, right? And, like, that would be sick. People would lose their minds, right? But obviously, I knew that was a long shot. The match was pretty good. I thought all 3 guys looked really strong, right? There was a point where AJ Styles hits the Styles Clash on Roman Reigns, and he's going to pin him if it weren't for LA Knight. There's a part where Randy Orton RKO's everybody, and if it weren't for Solo Sikoa, he would have won, right? And then there was a part, not as good, but LA Knight, in the end of the match, it was his moment, and basically he goes for the BFT. Roman Reigns pushes him into the ropes while AJ Styles is going for a phenomenal forearm. AJ Styles, like, crashes and burns, basically. Roman Reigns hits the Superman punch on LA Knight, spears AJ 1, 2, 3. Roman is still the champ, right? It was a good match. I enjoyed it. It went a little long, but it is what it is. Next up, we have Logan Paul and Kevin Owens in another pretty decent match, right? The takeaway here is that Logan Paul is a great wrestler. I mean, people can hate him all they want. At this point, it's not even cool to hate him. Like, it's just like Jake Paul, right? Where it's like, at some point, you have to accept that these guys are talented. You know what I'm saying? Like, Logan Paul, I don't know if it's true, it probably isn't, but there's a part where, like, Michael Cole's like, Logan Paul just said that he just started lifting weights. But imagine if that were true, if this guy looks like that without lifting any weights, right? Like, I mean, like, he's just a natural athlete, right? And in this company, there's very few. There's AJ Styles, there's R-Truth, there's Seth Rollins to a certain extent. That's about it. It's like you have people like CM Punk, Cesaro, Cody Rhodes. They're not real athletes. Like, they're not really athletic. You know what I mean? Like, Randy Orton, he's not really athletic. Like, he's in great physical shape in the sense that he goes to the gym. But they're more like, they lean more towards the bodybuilder aesthetic than they do towards the skinny fat aesthetic in the case of, like, CM Punk and Gunther, right? They're not really athletic, right? They're not like, you know, like Ricochet is obviously an athlete, like things like that. Logan Paul is on the level of Ricochet. Like, if Logan Paul didn't have better things to do with his life and he dedicated his time, like his life, I should say, full time to wrestling, he'd be better than Ricochet. You know what I'm saying? By far, right? Logan Paul is already better than Ricochet by far. Logan Paul rules. I really like him. The only problem with him is that, like, he's so part-time and, like, you know that it's not going to be a long contract, right? Even though I think he's like the 3rd highest paid guy in WWE, like, it's not going to be, like, even if he resigns, it's not going to be like, he's not going to be a full-time guy and he'll never be taken seriously. But he was able to beat Kevin Owens by DQ. I thought the finish was clever. The finish was your typical Logan Paul gets the brass knucks, except this time Owens takes the brass knucks, puts them on, and punches Logan Paul out and goes to pin him. The referee starts counting 1, 2, and just as he's about to hit 3, kudos to the referee. I don't know his name, but it's that Asian referee. As soon as he's about to hit 3, he notices the brass knucks, which was great because it almost looked like he counted to 3, right? So, and then he DQs Kevin Owens, which I thought was great. So with that being said, the match was all right. It wasn't anything special, but for what it was decent. Now, let's get to the real main event here, right? The thing we were all looking forward to. First of all, I just want to start by saying that, you know, they could have just had a singles match at this point. It's really stupid. You know, like you may as well just have like Cody Rhodes and CM Punk both say, I want to go after Roman, and they just have a singles match to determine who is going to go after Roman, since you're going to have 2 championship matches anyways. And then you can just relegate the Royal Rumble to a match that goes for Seth Rollins' title. You already relegated the Money in the Bank, so what's the point, right? At that point, at least you can have Gunther win, or you can have some, you can add some gravitas to it, right? It's like, as the standards get lower, so should the prestige of the matches, right? So in other words, if WrestleMania has 2 main events and AJ Styles is now like a legitimate WrestleMania main eventer along with Jimmy Uso, right? And I love AJ Styles, one of my favorites of all time, but you know, if you're not main eventing the second night, it's not the main event. So someone's going to get the short end of the stick. You might as well have that be Gunther. Let's say it's Gunther, right? Let's say the other match is going to be Gunther versus, I don't know, friggin' Seth Rollins, right? You could just have that by having Gunther win the Rumble and just say Cody Rhodes just gets the title for no reason whatsoever, because that's essentially what they did anyways, right? Cody Rhodes and CM Punk both suck. They're both AEW guys, and I thought that this Rumble was garbage. But it's not just because of that, right? There's one other reason why it was garbage, and that is, obviously, the complete lack of main eventers made this into a horrible Royal Rumble, right? Now, I can look at everyone on this list, and virtually everyone in the last 5 years has either been Intercontinental or US champion or isn't good enough to be, right? It's one of those two. There's like very few former champions here, right? So like, who cares? You know what I mean? With that being said, let's just go through it, right? Jey Uso comes out, Jimmy Uso comes out. Okay, decent choice. It doesn't really matter. They don't really fight that much throughout the match anyways, right? They both lasted for a long time. Jey Uso lasted longer, of course, but they lasted for a long time. And aside from their first 1.5 minutes, they didn't really interact during the match. So what was the point, right? Why not just have Jimmy Uso come out at number 25, right? And have him, I don't know, eliminate Jey Uso. I don't know. The point is, if you're all you're going to do is do a minute and a half, right? It's stupid, right? The whole point of them being there in the beginning is that, oh man, they're going to have to be with each other for like the foreseeable future, for the next 25, 35 minutes, because you know they're both going to last a little bit, right? But it is what it is. That's how they went down with it. Grayson Waller comes out. I don't know who eliminated him. I don't care. Grayson Waller, I have called this guy right from the beginning. You know, when people, it's just like Karrion Kross. People kept telling me, they're like, oh, Grayson Waller, what if he's a star? One day he could be the champion. I'm like, Grayson Waller is just a jobber. Like, this guy has Tyler Breeze written all over him. I mean, you know, personally, I think he's more of a Justin Gabriel, but that's what I've always been saying. If you can go back to my videos, I always say, like, the hell's this other Justin Gabriel? Like, what do we need this guy, right? Then at number 4, Andrade comes out, right? Andrade comes out, makes his return. The only thing I could think of was what a colossal waste of time for him to go to AEW. You know, people were like, oh my God, Andrade is in AEW. Oh, they're going to know how to use him. They didn't. Once again, I was proven right. AEW did absolutely fuck all with this guy. And here he is back to being a jobber in WWE. Whatever. He's another guy that never drew a dime, so I don't know why they signed him back. Obviously, probably because of Charlotte, but it is what it is. Next, Carmelo Hayes comes out. You know, people like Carmelo Hayes. I'm not too hot on him because people really do think this guy's like the next big thing. I just don't see it at all, right? Nakamura came out, a complete waste of money. Santos Escobar came out, a complete waste of money. Karrion Kross came out, a complete waste of money. Even AOP can't put this guy over. This guy's just bad, right? The only thing I'll say about him is that his music is much better than like his whole Doomsday Pray and Fall and Pray thing. Like, you know, when you switch from a song that's that overproduced and an entrance that's that overproduced, you know that you suck, right? It's like they gave you all this and like nothing came of it. So like now you're still a jobber. Then we have Dirty Dominic Mysterio, right? Obviously one of the highlights of the Rumble. First of all, the reaction this kid gets is just insane, right? Nobody got a bigger reaction than Dominic. Not Cody Rhodes, not Gunther, not CM Punk, right? And it really goes to show how important charisma is and how important a character is. Dominic Mysterio, in my opinion, is the MVP of this last year. Starting from last WrestleMania to now, nobody has improved more than Dominic Mysterio. Nobody's more entertaining Dominic Mysterio. So take that, cucks. Carlito comes out to virtually zero reaction. It's over, right? You don't need to sign Carlito and Andrade, right? You can just take one and have them do the same thing that the other guy's doing, right? Carlito came and saved the LWO. Andrade came and saved the LWO. Nobody cares. It's the same garbage, right? Of course, they made more sense with Carlito because it was in Puerto Rico, but otherwise, who cares? Bobby Lashley comes out looking like a beast, right? And he's the only one here thus far that feels like a main eventer, even though he really isn't, right? He's also going after the U.S. title all the time, so it doesn't really matter. Then Ludwig Kaiser comes out. I mean, I like Ludwig Kaiser for what he is, but I think everybody knows what he is, and that is like a boring, lower mid-card guy. He's like an Al Snow, right? Except without the charisma, without the wrestling ability, and without the size. I mean, he's like an Al Snow, but inferior in every way. In fact, if Al Snow was around right now in his prime, he'd probably be like in a Gunther spot. But that goes without saying. Then Austin Theory comes up. This guy was supposed to be the next big thing. He's only like 26, so he's got a chance. But in my opinion, the ball's been dropped. It's already over, right? Like, he's boring. You've associated him with Grayson Waller for some reason because they're two young guys, even though Grayson Waller's like 35 or some shit, right? It's just a complete waste. Like, as soon as Austin Theory cashed in his Money in the Bank for the U.S. title, that's when you knew it was just garbage, right? Then next, I mean, I guess at that point, it's like they only had one title, so it's like the mid-card title has more prestige, theoretically, not really. Then Finn Balor comes out. I remember when this guy was signed, my friend was telling me this guy's going to be the next big thing. Obviously, I was right about that. It didn't happen. Cucks. Finn Balor is a jobber. And at this point, right, number 15, Cody Rhodes comes out. But before Cody Rhodes comes out, I can't help but think, Cucks, I can't help but think, wait a second. There are so many wrestlers here that have done nothing, right? So it's like, I'll put it to you this way. Nakamura comes out, doesn't even do the Kinshasa. Carmelo Hayes comes out, doesn't even do the, what's it called? The nothing but net. Carlito comes out, doesn't do the backstabber, right? Ludwig Kaiser comes out, doesn't do the little DDT move that he does. Austin Theory comes out, doesn't do his finisher. Finn Balor comes out, doesn't do his finisher. All they do is come out and they just like punch each other, do a headlock, run around, do a clothesline, and they get thrown out, right? So it's like, in what category of world am I going to be more excited about Carlito coming out than Ludwig Kaiser, right? They're going to do the same thing anyways, right? I know they're not going to win, number one. I know they're not going to do their moves, right? They're just going to go out there, do a few clotheslines, get a cheap pop, and then get thrown over by a better wrestler, right? So that's what I'm getting at. That's kind of the problem, right? Back in the day, Royal Rumble 2000, I'll use as an example, right? Rikishi came out, he did Rikishi drivers, he did a stink phase, he did everything he needed to do. Too Cool came out, they danced in the middle of the ring before Rikishi threw them both out, right? Big Bossman and Test came out, they were there for like 45 minutes. I don't know how, but I remember like the order of this thing, because I used to love wrestling back then, right? And then, of course, The Rock came out, Big Show came out, Kane came out, did choke slams. Everybody that was there was doing the things they needed to be doing, or at the very least, they were furthering storylines. So, for example, the last four in that Royal Rumble were The Rock, Big Show, Kane, and X-Pac, right? And I think Billy Gunn was there too, right? So, like, Billy Gunn gets thrown off, right? Then Kane throws off X-Pac, right? But the referee doesn't see it. So X-Pac comes in, right? And then throws Kane over the top rope, right? Now, why is that important? I'll tell you why that's important. Because there was a program they were entering into, right? Kane versus X-Pac ultimately turned into like a tag match. It was X-Pac and Road Dogg because Billy Gunn got injured. So it's X-Pac and Road Dogg at WrestleMania versus Rikishi and Kane, right? But the feud there was Kane and X-Pac, right? So they were furthering the feud. What is Santos Escobar furthering? What is Nakamura furthering? What is Karrion Kross furthering? In fact, Karrion Kross attempted to further his feud with Lashley, but nothing happened. All he did was just brawl. I'm thinking to myself, you only have 4 matches on this card. Why not just have a 6-man tag? Lashley and the Street Profits versus the Final Testament. Just do it. Why not? Have it be a 5-minute match. I don't care. But the point is, nothing was furthered by almost anybody here. Cody Rhodes comes out, right? He furthers nothing. He goes out there, doesn't really do much. He does like a Cody Cutter. He's just there as well. He's just like Finn Balor. For some reason, people can throw Finn Balor, but they cannot throw Cody Rhodes over the top rope. None of this is explained, right? It would be explained, for example, if Cody Rhodes is out there just beating everyone up, doing crossroads left and right. That would be explained because it's like, oh, okay, he's hard to eliminate because he's Cody Rhodes, right? He's hard to eliminate because he's out there doing like main event type things, right? But when he's behaving exactly like Ludwig Kaiser, then why do I care about that? Can you imagine The Rock being in the Rumble and going up against, like, I don't know, Carlito and not laying the smacketh down on his monkey ass? Exactly, you can't. Next, Bronson Reed comes out, a.k.a. Bull Dempsey #2, right? After that, a defeated, unmotivated-looking Kofi Kingston comes out. It's just like, I could tell this guy probably didn't want to be there, Good for him. The announcers say that he's like the guy that's, I think, second all-time Rumble appearances with 16. This is his 16th one. right behind Kane with 18, right? Whatever, it is what it is. Then Gunther comes out, so you know he's going to have a good run. Ivar comes out, nobody cares at all. Then, finally, Braun Breaker comes out, right? This was awesome, right? I knew that Braun Breaker wasn't going to win because, let's be real, they're not going to do that because they're cuckolds. But Braun Breaker comes out, and he's out there just spearing the hell out of everybody, right? At some point, Omos comes out while Braun Breaker is destroying everybody, right? Meanwhile, Braun Breaker is eliminating people like Ivar. He just throws Finn Balor away like he's a nothing. You know what I mean? Like, who else did he eliminate? I think Omos came out. He eliminates Omos, right? That was pretty sick, I thought. I really enjoyed how he eliminated Omos as well up in this pace. Omos is just a complete waste of time as well. Like, and more notably, Braun Breaker eliminated Jimmy Uso. I don't know why. They should have just had Jey Uso eliminate him so they can work to their feud. But it is what it is. Braun Breaker got 4 eliminations, which tied him with Cody Rhodes in terms of his performance, right? But then after Braun Breaker and Omos are like facing each other, right? Pat McAfee's music hits. He goes in. He comes out to the apron. He goes in. He comes out to the apron, and he eliminates himself. Complete waste of everyone's time. You could have just hired the Hurricane, given him like $3 grand to show up there, do the Hurricane pose, and get like chokeslammed by Damian Priest or something. I don't know. Or Omos or Braun Breaker. Get speared. Like, just have him do that. It would have been fun. The crowd would have popped for Hurricane. But instead, they had Pat McAfee come take a valuable spot and waste everyone's time. Next up, JD McDonough comes out. But this is right after Braun Breaker gets eliminated by Dirty Dominic, right? So he's pissed. I don't know if he's pissed at Judgment Day or just pissed. But he goes out there and he just spears the hell out of JD McDonough. The spear looked rough. JD McDonough is a small man. He looks like Finn Balor, but he has like a big head. He looks like a Down syndrome Finn Balor, you know. He gets speared in half. He's decent. I like JD McDonough in many ways. Right? After that, number 24. So I'm like, oh, I'm waiting. I'm like, is it going to be R-Truth? Because he came out at 24 in the Women's Rumble. And it was. They didn't make that error. R-Truth comes out. He grabs JD McDonough and throws him in an attempt to say, like, oh, we're friends. Like, I'm just trying to, like, help you in, right? But, of course, JD McDonough comes in. He gets eliminated immediately by Jey Uso in a matter of seconds, right? R-Truth then does a few cool things. He does, like, the John Cena comeback with the, you know, the shoulder blocks and the spinning powerbomb, and you can't see me. But then Gunther comes out. Gunther pops up and doesn't let him complete it, which was, I thought, lame. But basically, there was a cool little spot where The Miz wants to go after Dominic, but R-Truth saves Dominic. Eventually, after The Miz, which was number 25, at number 26, Damian Priest comes out. He comes out and he just goes after R-Truth, beats the shit out of him, and throws him over the top rope. I thought that was great, right? Because it's like, all right, Damian Priest is here. He means business. I don't even know why he's in the Royal Rumble when he has the Money in the Bank, but what are you going to do, right? Then CM Punk comes out at number 27. He comes out, does really basically nothing. He does the little corner knees in each corner. It wasn't anything noteworthy. He didn't look good. Whatever. Ricochet comes out. He does 2 or 3 Ricochet moves. Drew McIntyre comes out at 29. And the only noteworthy thing that Drew McIntyre does is he eliminates Ricochet. Then Sami Zayn comes out with like a cool spot. Sami Zayn comes out. And everyone should be disappointed because I know some of us were hoping that 1% chance of The Rock coming was going to happen. I would have lost my mind, but it didn't. You know, I kind of knew it was going to happen, especially after the Vince McMahon stuff. The Rock is exactly the kind of person that he's going to distance himself immediately from this. You know what I mean? Like, he's not going to be one of mentioned as The Rock even, or any association with WWE at this point. So I kind of knew that even if he was slated, you know, prior to this, I feel like his PR team would have been like, yeah, you're not doing that anymore. Cut. Sami Zayn comes out. Nobody cares. This guy's just a waste of time. Drew McIntyre throws him out relatively quickly. The last 4 dudes are Drew McIntyre, who looks like a beast, Gunther, Cookie, Rhodes, and CM Cook. And I just want to say one thing because I forgot to mention it. I made a note in my head and it just came back to me. There was a part where Carmelo Hayes was wrestling against Karrion Kross and then also Lashley. And it really showed why we need the Cruiserweight division back. Because it's like, Karrion Kross and Lashley are like, yeah, I don't like Karrion Kross, but he is a big dude, you know, especially compared to Carmelo Hayes. And Carmelo Hayes is especially even smaller compared to Lashley. And it was just ridiculous. It's like, how are these people even in the same category of humans? How are they even in the same match? It's just absurd, right? So, just based on that, Carmelo Hayes isn't going to make it. He's not going to be like this huge star. Neither is Trick Williams. Like, come on, you know, if Lashley isn't a huge star, and Damian Priest isn't a huge star, and Drew McIntyre even isn't a huge star, you really think that Trick Williams is going to be that dude, or Carmelo Hayes, or Ilya Dragunov? I doubt it. So then afterwards, near the end, there's the 4 that I mentioned. Drew McIntyre gets eliminated first. I don't remember how he got eliminated, but I know... CM Punk, yeah. So he hits Claymores on everybody, and that's how you know someone's about to get eliminated. When it seems like they're on top of the world, he picks up CM Punk, says a few words like, I'm not the same guy that I was. Like, you belong to me now. I run this place. CM Punk just barely, but he does. Fireman's carry Drew McIntyre, obviously with Drew McIntyre's help because they're by the ropes. And Drew McIntyre just like hops over the top rope, and that's that, right? Next up, Cody Rhodes eliminates Gunther. What are you going to do, right? What are you going to do? I thought about it. I was like, you could have had CM Punk eliminate Gunther, but what difference would that make? It'd be the same exact outcome anyways, right? Gunther gets eliminated, once again having a strong showing, so maybe he can be Intercontinental Champion for another year and do nothing. Just be a mid-card champion for another year, having no meaningful matches. Like, name 4 matches that he's had. Exactly, you can't. But it also reminded me that Gunther and Drew McIntyre last year, at last WrestleMania, not even that long ago, were competing for the Intercontinental title. Gunther is the current Intercontinental Champion. You know what I mean? So it's like everyone here is a mid-carder. I don't care if you want to pretend that Cody Rhodes is a main eventer. I don't think so. And I don't care if you want to pretend CM Punk's a main eventer. I also don't think so. So deal with it. Right? CM Punk and Cody Rhodes have a predictable back and forth. And this brings me back to one of my videos that I did this last week, where I was saying, like, does it really matter who wins? They're like the same thing, right? So, or I don't know if I uploaded that video. I think I did. I could be wrong. If I didn't upload it, that sucks because there's no point in doing it now because the Rumble's already happened. Cuts. But one of the points I was making, whether I uploaded the video or not, was that CM Punk and Cody Rhodes are the same guy, right? They're both trying to finish their story, so who cares? Who cares who wins and who loses? It doesn't matter. So at this point, I'm already tuned out of the Royal Rumble. I'm just really just watching to see who's going to win. I don't care. I just want to see because it's the fastest way that I'm going to find out, right? Versus Googling it afterwards because I wanted to make this video immediately. Long story short, CM Punk gets the crossroads, and then eventually CM Punk hits the go to sleep, and then eventually Cody Rhodes is about to get thrown off. CM Punk does something else. What does he do? He does a pedigree. He does a pedigree, haha, tee. Then he picks him up to do another go to sleep, right? Cody Rhodes reverses it in such a way that he's holding on to CM Punk's like knee, kind of like under his leg, right? And then all of a sudden, Cody Rhodes just grabs him by the head and throws him out. And I'm just like, wait a second. So you're gonna no-sell the pedigree and just throw this guy out. Well then, why are you trying to do the crossroads where you can just grab him and throw him out? Just throw him out then. Why is there even wrestling happening in this match if all you need to do is just not let him do his move, and then at that point, everything's hunky-dory, you just grab him and throw him. Like, it wasn't, you know what I mean? It wasn't this intricate elimination sequence, right? Like, so a good one would be, you know, when Benoit eliminated Big Show, where Big Show had him up. It's kind of like how everyone eliminates Big Show, right? And Benoit just grabbed him to the headlock, and it was this dramatic moment where he's kind of squeezing Big Show's head and dragging him ever so slowly over the top rope while he goes under the bottom rope, right? That was a clever way to eliminate Big Show. It was dramatic. Or, for example, when Rey Mysterio won the Rumble, it was him, Orton, and Triple H. And Triple H and Mysterio started the Rumble at number 1 and 2, respectively. And then eventually, Rey Mysterio eliminates Triple H. Triple H is pissed. Randy Orton tries to take advantage and throw Rey Mysterio out, who just pretty much counters it into like not a Hurricane Rana, but like a Hurricane Rana-esque, you know, using Cody's momentum to like Randy Orton's momentum to throw him over the top rope, right? It was suspenseful because it was like, oh, the number 30 and the number 1 and the number 2 are there. It's Rey Mysterio. Is it actually going to happen? You know, there's a lot of things like that, right? My personal favorite, Shawn Michaels and Undertaker in the Royal Rumble that Undertaker won. One of my personal favorite Royal Rumbles ever, and easily the best Royal Rumble ending, right? So, in the end, it's just HBK, the Heartbreak Kid, and The Undertaker playa. And instead of just the match ending, they have like a 10-minute like back and forth, you know, where they're doing their spots. Like Shawn Michaels does like the flying forearm and the kip up, and then he goes for Sweet Chin Music. Undertaker does the, you know, the raising from the dead sit-up thing, right? And then Undertaker eventually, I think he counters the Sweet Chin Music, like he dodges it, and Shawn Michaels overkicks, and he's kind of like, you know, in his legs are in between the rope, and Taker just like punches him out or kicks him out or something, right? But the point is, it was a very good sequence because it was like a match. It was like you're getting a bonus match of Shawn Michaels versus Undertaker on top of the fact that you had both of those guys in the Rumble, right? So this was like the worst of all of those. There's nothing worse in my opinion. No Rumble that I can think of ended in a worse way. So there you have it. It's going to be Cookie Rhodes against Roman Reigns because he points to Roman Reigns afterwards. Whatever. I guess Cody Rhodes is going to win, but I really hope Roman Reigns wins personally. But at the same time, it's like, you know, just have Cody Rhodes win. Like, what was the point of this? Just to give Roman Reigns like a 1 year longer title reign? Like, what was the point? Like, he's just like Gunther in the sense that he's just been champion for a year and nothing has come of it, right? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he hasn't done anything to advance himself, right? I mean, he had the story with the Usos, I guess. That was somewhat interesting, but that was the very, very beginning of the year. So it's like, that's, I guess, the benefit now is that Cody Rhodes has only Solo Sikoa to deal with, right? And maybe Jimmy Uso. Hopefully Jey Uso comes out and just interferes on behalf of Cody. I don't know what's going to happen. It doesn't matter. I guess at this point, just give it to Cody Rhodes. But I would have loved if, imagine if Cody Rhodes had a good year and got people like me to like him. You know what I mean? Got people that don't like him to like him, right? By wrestling actively, by doing cool things, not cutting promos in a suit about like, oh, this week on the WWE Network, like, shut your mouth. You know, you look like a fucking weatherman. Anyways, that being said, this has been the Rumble Review. Fuck yourselves and enjoy your weekend, cucks.